Hey everybody, it's Invalid, and we are here on the third part of this Q&A that I set out. Um so yeah, let's just get right into it. Starting off with Dark Agent Z yet again. Which YouTube LPers have inspired you? YouTube LPers that have inspired me. Frozen Foxy is definitely up there on the list. He's one that I subscribed to a long time ago before I started making Let's Plays of my own, and I still watch him to this day. One of the things that he does is he just records the game and plays through it at his own pace. He's just like, yeah, here we are, let's play this game. Whoa, that's interesting. Oh, that's totally a reference to that. And every once in a while, he'll have a game where it's like, yeah, I've played this through 3 dozen times. I know it in and out, and I've done research on the story behind it and stuff like that. So he's an inspiration to me, mostly because he just plays the game, and he just plays it. He does his thing. And I really like that. A Let's Player that I used to be subscribed to, but is no longer really on YouTube, is Joseph V Stalin. That was the name of the channel. I think the channel's still up, but he's moved his stuff onto his own website. Probably because YouTube's a bitch. Seriously, YouTube is a bitch. Basically, all you have to do is say the keywords copyright claim. Every YouTuber is going to complain about that. He was one of the first Let's Players that I ran into who gave tips on getting into Let's Playing. And he always had this really energetic way of approaching the game that he was playing that really helped me get into it. And he was the one that really got me into Let's Playing myself. He was the one that's like, okay, I'll take that step and I'll start Let's Playing. He was the one that really got me into it. Even though I didn't really connect with him much on a personal level. Other people that have inspired me. The whole video making thing in general really began way back when I was doing carnivore cityscape videos. And the person who inspired me to do that was a channel that unfortunately no longer exists. By the person's choice, by the way. He wasn't banned or anything, but Mr. Lice22 used to have carnivore cityscape videos, Easter eggs and stuff like that. And I watched the first one and I was just like, sign me up. I want to make videos too. Because it was just funny. You know, it was a contribution to... He didn't have any commentary or anything like that. He's just like doing no clipping, going to these random places where it's like, did you know this was in the game? And I really liked that. I thought that was so cool. And that's when I bought my first game and looked into how to record stuff, and that's when I started recording things. Kind of sharing my experience. So that's how I got into videos. But Frozen Foxy and Joseph E. Stalin were really the ones that got me into Let's Playing. But as far as game selection early on, that was influenced by a Let's Player by the name of Tyrant King 10. He's still around, but he hasn't put up videos in a while, and I ended up unsubscribing to him simply because it's like... I don't know. But he had this really fun way of approaching games. It's just like, yeah, let's get into it. Let's play this game. Let's play some Doom. Let's play some Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, it's all awesome. I loved it. And he was the one that really kind of got that spark. When I first did Doom. when I started my Doom 95 Let's Play, which was the first Let's Play I ever did, Joseph V Stalin kind of set in motion. It's like, okay, this is how I can start doing it. I need hardware. I need software. How can I record my voice? What games do I want to play? That kind of thing. Joseph V Stalin was the how. Frozen Foxy and Tyrant King 10 were the motivators. It's like, yeah, let's do it. Because I was just so enraptured with what they were doing. So those 4 were my initial influences. Since then, though, I've had some other inspirations from other Let's Players. One really big one that I've had recently is a Let's Player who goes by the name of ScribeD, or ScribeD. Everybody knows him as Dave anyway, because he's just flaunting his first name out there for the entire world. And his thing is sharing his experience with the initial game, and alongside that, providing backstory not only in the game, but to the game's development. So, interviews with publishers, interviews with game developers, music, going into the history of each person that was significant in the game development. And then going into game elements and hidden things and stuff like that. He's been a huge inspiration to me. And I highly recommend, by the way, that you go and check out all of these people's channels, aside from Mr. Lice22, since, like I said, he no longer exists. And Joseph V. Stalin, he doesn't really resonate with me anymore. You can check him out if you want, but highly recommend Frozen Foxy. Highly recommend ScribeD. And if Tyrant King 10, even if you haven't heard of Tyrant King 10, definitely check out his stuff, because it's funny. It's not funny, haha, but it's fun. I really enjoy it. And another Let's Player that's been more influential recently is Fen Phoenix. He's another kind of small-timer, and he focuses mostly on Thief, fan missions, and Dark Mod missions. But he does some other games on the side as well. He's definitely a Let's Player. And he's got some really crazy jump cut editing. And he does some he does some funny stuff. Just completely random sometimes. Just babble. I've seen some comments on my Harry Potter videos especially where it's like, this guy talks too much. You think I babble incessantly? No. You haven't seen anything until you go over to Fen Phoenix's channel, okay? He talks nonstop about the most random shit that you have ever heard. And I love it. It's absolutely great. I love his stuff. So, yeah, he's been more influential in that way. And I think there's a couple other Let's Players that have been influential as well. Mike Latt is somebody that I'm subscribed to, but I wouldn't really consider him a huge influence on me as a Let's Player. It's just kind of like, he's fun to watch. Because he's just like, railguns don't give a shit about anything else. Just really goofy. Who else has been really influential to me? I think those are the main influences at this point. There's one other that's really been good. Fal is somebody that I watch, but not really an inspiration to me. Well, yeah, he was an inspiration. He's had some influence on my videos. Fal does some relatively heavy editing in his videos, and has this alter ego called Anti-Fal. And that inspired me to do some kind of this multiple personality thing that I haven't done in a while, but there are some videos where it's like, this could definitely be used, and other ones where it's not so important. But that Soldier Hawk and the Flaming Monocle are probably my other two smaller but still important influences. Soldier Hawk is kind of the really looking into everything and wondering what's going on. She thinks about stuff. And I really like that. You know, it's a reminder in my own time to go through the games and observe what's going on. You don't need to take a game and play through it at top speed. You can take in each moment and wonder what's going on, what's the story behind everything. In some games, it's not necessarily important. In other games, though, like Half-Life or Dark Souls and Life is Strange, really key focus right there is the story that you're not told directly. And many thanks to Soldier Hawk for that. And by the way, guys, I highly recommend you check her out, but you might be waiting for her videos for a while because she's on Hawk Time. And that is played off of Valve Time because she plays the Half-Life games and she plays Half-Life and Portal games. She's currently on Half-Life 2 and Portal 2. And the running joke right now is that by the time she finishes Half-Life 2 Episode 2, Half-Life 3 is going to be out. That's kind of the running joke, because she's been at Half-Life 2 for multiple years now. She doesn't get videos out very often, but every single one is phenomenal. I love it. I really like her videos, so I highly recommend you guys check her out. She's got some good stuff. And Flaming Monocle, what hit me about his channel is that he has a focus with his channel. There's a certain persona that he's playing as, the Flaming Monocle, this evil overlord who wants to take over the world kind of thing. And every single subscriber is a minion. And that's what he plays into. It's all very joking, of course. I mean, it's not serious at all. He's not actually trying to take over the world, but it's what his channel's about. And that really struck me, because when I watched his videos, I realized that at that point in time, I didn't have a specific direction with my channel. I didn't have a focus with it. I was just kind of making videos, and that was like, you pump out the videos, and that's kind of all I'm doing. And I didn't have any motivation. I didn't have a focus. I didn't have an ideal. I didn't have a mentality behind what I was doing. And since I subscribed to him, I watched a lot of his videos early on, and I haven't been doing that so much lately because they just frankly haven't interested me. But that alone was a huge inspiration in revitalizing my enjoyment in my channel. Because it's not just focusing on my channel focus, but it's focusing on my life focus. Having that focus has been such a turnaround for me in what I'm doing in my videos, my channel, what I'm doing in my life. You know, following my heart kind of thing. And listening to that. And having that kind of spreads around to the rest of everything. So I think that answered your question. Those are the main influences that I have to name off, because holy cow, dude. So the next question, the final question from Dark Ancient Z. What do you think about the moments when you stall a lot? When you stall a lot? For example, in Harry Potter, when you backtrack a lot in order to check if you missed something. Sometimes it's a bit annoying. What do I think about those moments? When I'm playing them, that's not such a big deal. When I watch them in post-recording, I totally understand why you guys might want me to crop those out. Because it's backtracking. And I've been okay about cutting that stuff out if it goes over a couple minutes and what I'm saying isn't terribly interesting. But those moments in the moment aren't that bad. It's watching them afterwards when it's like, oh god, why did I leave this in? Or why was I doing that? That self-critic comes on. That self-critic chimes in and it's like, you could have done this so much better. It's like, okay, yeah, I could have. But, oh well. So those moments when I stall a lot, I'm not a huge fan of them personally. Kind of in the same way that you guys are. I can find it annoying too. But that's part of the reason why I use editing software, is because I can go back through the video and it's like, okay, here's a segment where I'm saying absolutely nothing interesting and doing absolutely nothing interesting. Cut, remove. We're done. Stick those two parts together that are interesting and let's continue on. I don't like completely cutting out those moments. If there's like 1 or 2 minute segments where I'm kind of exploring and not saying a whole lot, or I'm just rambling on about something, then that's a little different. I like leaving those parts in. Especially if it's a game where I'm going through areas that I haven't seen before or I haven't shown them off yet. Because to me, having a dynamic thing where it's not always about interest and intrigue and next best thing, I like having that in there. It breaks things up. Not everything needs to be super stimulating. And I like reflecting that in my videos. Granted, I want to keep things interesting, so if I'm backtracking through areas that I've been through before and I'm not saying anything great, then crop that out. But if there's a moment or two where it's like, yeah, I'm talking about something interesting but not doing a whole lot, or I'm going through areas but not saying much, then sure, I'll leave that in. Simply because it's a change to what's been going on. And it's nice to have those moments of peace and quiet. At least I find that to be true. And you'll find that a lot going back to a prior question with the YouTube inspiration. Frozen Foxy has that a lot, where he's kind of backtracking. And he does very little cutting. Very, very little. So there are periods where he's doing a lot of backtracking and not talking a whole lot, or talking about things that aren't necessarily interesting. And it shows off more of the game, I think, is another key part of it. It shows off more of the game if I'm backtracking and not saying a whole lot. Or stalling, as you put it, Dark Ancient. And I think having those moments every so often is good. When I have 5 minutes where I'm stalling and that's half the video, or a third of the video, that can be left out. But I think that kind of... I hope that answers your question. That's another kind of ramble that I don't know if I actually answered the question or not. But that's what I think about it. I think they have some points where stalling is good, or having an empty space, but where I'm stalling a lot or not doing much for a really long period of time, that can get removed. And that's something that I've really discovered throughout editing. And going back to the question of somebody who wants to start doing LPs for advice for that, you really learn through experience. And something that I've been doing is learning how to deal with those moments where I'm stalling a lot. And what I can do either in the moment when I'm recording, or what I can do when I'm editing the video before I render it. So, yeah, every stall is different, so you have to treat each stall differently. That's kind of my thought on it. Wolfmaster1231 asks, what is your happiest memory to date? My happiest memory to date? That's actually kind of a tough question, I have to be honest. And the reason I say that is because I have so many happy memories. Um, it seems like that's kind of a rarity nowadays, which is kind of sad to have so many happy memories that you can't choose one that's like the happiest. But my mother, bless her heart, she raised me with the ideal that 95% of life is good. And that 5% that isn't good, that's the bad stuff, but it's 5% of your life, and you learn stuff from it. And in tandem with that, one of the friends I made out in Idaho said that there's no bad days, there's only bad moments. And I love that philosophy. So, I would be really hard pressed to give you the happiest memory that I have to date, but I can tell you a couple memories that really stick in my mind. I could tell you my worst memory to date, but I already covered that in another question. So, so a couple happy memories that I've had to date. The first one that springs to mind is coming home after being in Idaho for so long, and then stepping out of the airport and just the whole thing of my mom driving up and stopping on the curbside, the hug, feeling the Virginia air, driving back home to where I've lived for 17 years of my life, and seeing the cats that are here, seeing my good computer, having good internet. The fact alone that I'm like less than 5 miles from all of my friends. Oh, mind blown. I don't have to drive anywhere. It's amazing. Except for one. But that was bliss. That was absolute bliss. Another happy memory that I have. It was a birthday party. I think it was either 5th or 6th grade. I was still in elementary school. And we were on 3 acres of property of this really sweet older gal. That brings up a whole bunch of other memories that I just, happy. But we were on the property of this older gal who grew irises. That used to be called Margaret's Gardens. It's unfortunately no longer there. The owner has since passed away. Property was sold, and now it's being developed, and it looks horrid, but not much we can do about it at this point. But one of the memories that I'm recalling right now is my sixth grade birthday party. So I would have been 11, 12. Maybe it was 5th grade. I think I was turning 12. Yeah, I think I was turning 12. And a good acre and a half of the area was dedicated to plots that had iris and peonies and different kinds of flowers growing. Daylilies, that was another one. But there was 1 acre that was just compost and stick debris and meadow and hills and ditches and all this other really cool stuff that made it perfect for an extreme croquet setup. And I say extreme croquet because normal croquet you have kind of this flat, a little bit like a golf course. You have this flat really low-cut, mowed-down, grassy area that's fairly flat, and you have wickets that are placed a certain distance from each other, and you have a normal game of croquet. Extreme croquet, you have the basic setup. You have your mallets, you have your croquet balls, you have your wickets, ending stakes, middle stakes or something like that. I can't remember exactly how croquet goes. I haven't played it in a long time, but you have that basic setup and the figure 8 that comes from that with how the wickets and the stakes are set up. However, that figure 8 gets really skewed very shortly in Extreme Croquet because you're getting it all over the place. You're trying to get each wicket in the worst place possible for the most entertainment possible for everybody, and frustration. That was a really good memory. And there was one moment in particular that I felt so bad for what I did afterward to my best friend. But what basically ended up happening was we had this one wicket set up on a hill because the property, it's 3 acres, right? And it abuts the main road. The main road that goes by there is Lawyers. And there's a slope. There's an incline, a really steep incline at that, of about 4 or 5 feet from the rest of the property that gets up onto the sidewalk that runs alongside Lawyers Road. And we had a wicket like 2.5 feet up, angled sideways. So it's perpendicular to the way the road is running, right? The way you would hit the ball through the wicket would be parallel to the road. And as I'm talking, I'm actually standing up and doing all this alongside that, even though you can't see me. Because I'm reliving the memory. It was, oh my god, it was so horrible. And what ended up happening was, we're all kind of clumped around this wicket, because there thankfully was this little dip in the incline, so our balls could rest, our croquet balls could rest on the slope without actually rolling all the way back down. But my best friend, bless him, was like, his ball would not stay on the slope. So he's getting frustrated, right? So he hits the ball as hard as he can up the hill, and it rolls up the hill, over the sidewalk, onto the road, where there are cars whizzing by at like 45 miles an hour. And one actually runs over the ball. We hear this crack. We see the ball fly up into the air in one piece. Croquet balls are solid pieces of wood, by the way. They are not hollow. We see this ball fly like 30 feet up in the air, come down. We're all standing there in this moment of panic, like, oh shit, is it going to break a window? Or dent a car or something? Thankfully that didn't happen, but it flies up into the air, hits the ground on the road, rolls down alongside the curb. And then me and like 3 other people just go bolting after it. And we just managed to catch it before it rolls into a storm drain. I cherish that memory so much. But I feel so bad for the fact that I sent my best friend like 30 feet back because he hit the ball so hard. I really feel bad about that. So yeah, that's a good memory though. So yeah, those are the ones I'm recalling right now. So I think that's sufficient. I mean, I've only talked about that for like 13 minutes, so you know. So moving on to Lucanator, who's got 2 questions for us. What was your first thought when your Harry Potter videos got a lot of views? My first thought on that, I do not recall what my first thought was. I think there was something of surprise and joy associated with that. I don't remember what my first thought around that was. They actually really enjoy it? Okay, cool. I'm guessing that was my first thought. I couldn't tell you though. Why did you start with YouTube? Because that's what everybody else was doing. That's really the big thing. I mean, it was one of those, YouTube is like one of the few social medias that I really got into. And at that point in time, when I did join, it wasn't really a social media then. It was more of a video sharing site. You did your videos and you put them up, and that was that. There wasn't a big deal about any of it. But I started with YouTube mostly because I actually checked a couple other sites for making videos. Number one, YouTube is the most popular. And not only is it the most popularly used, but it is also the one where people are going to be looking around for channels the most. So it's the popularity contest kind of thing. YouTube wins on that one. Second off, quality-wise, YouTube has it refined better than most other sites I'm aware of. I know there were a couple sites that had the old formats of YouTube and had similar ways of processing the video, but I could not remember what they were. Otherwise, I probably would have transitioned over to them. But, oh well, stuff happens. So yeah, those are the main reasons why I started with YouTube. Aside from inspirations that I talked about in the last Q&A video. Okay, so that is the last of the questions that we have for this video, but we still have a few more questions that I'm going to be answering in the final part of part 4. So yeah, you get to look forward to that, and you guys have been asking some great questions. I've been loving answering these questions. I've been loving editing the videos, because these actually take a surprisingly large amount of work. And on top of that, I'm lazy, so it's like, twice as long as it should take. But, yeah. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask them. So yeah, until the next video, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you then. Take care. Bye for now.